Hey guys, it's TechRyan here. In today's video, we'll be building a $600 gaming PC. That is right. I'm super excited about this one because this is going to be a great PC for gaming and for streaming, so you can do both at the exact same time, or you can use this as a separate stream PC, so that way you can actually hook up a few different capture cards to it, because it's going to not have only one PCIe 16 slot, it's going to have 3 of them, so you can slap in 2 like PCIe capture cards if you really want to, or you can just use the headers on the motherboard for USB 3. So this PC will have a lot of ability to upgrade, and especially for the price points at $600 on AM4, you can really go crazy on like the upgrade path because it's just so cheap to upgrade on AM4 right now. I was originally going to go with AM5 PC build, but I'm going to do that next week when the actual was it Ryzen 9 9800X3D comes out. So if you don't want to miss out on that video, definitely get subscribed. But we're going to build this PC here, flip it, and then make another video on that just to see like how much can we actually profit from it, because I haven't done a PC flip video. So yeah, today's gonna be the build process, and then the next video is gonna be more just seeing if we can sell it, how much we're gonna gain from it. The CPU, we went with the Ryzen 4600G. Now this CPU is pretty good for gaming. It does have integrated graphics, that's what the G stands for. It is a 6-core processor with 12 threads. For RAM, we got ourselves 32 gigabytes of DDR4 memory at 36 megahertz. That is right, this RAM has gone so cheap. Like DDR4 memory has gone so cheap to the point where like you can get a lot of it for a price point budget build, and I just absolutely love that, because originally when we did a 600 build in the past, it was only 16 gigabytes, so we can now do 32 with absolute ease. Kind of wild to think about. I was thinking of maybe doing like 64 for an $800 build video, but I can't really recommend, if you're going to do $800 build video, just build on AM5 if you're building a new PC. But if you're building on a budget, this is pretty good. Now for a cooler, we went with the Cooler Master 212 actual black cooler. So keep in mind the actual 4600G processor from Ryzen actually does come with the stock cooler installed. However, I kind of lost the screws because, if you guys didn't know, I'm doing some reorganizing in the studio, doing some renovations. So this actual black curtain is not going to be in anymore. We're gonna have like a different desk area for test benching and all that jazz. So I have no idea where I set the screws, so I just bought this instead. It's like $30. I would recommend though, when you buy the processor new, don't even worry about the cooler, because it comes with one that'll work for it, and that way you can save $30 and spend it somewhere else. Like example, you can spend the $30 on a better SSD, because we went with a P3. This is a Gen 3 1TB NVMe SSD. Now it only does Gen 3 speeds, the board does Gen 4. Of course, I want to keep within the budget of $600. That's why I like cut some of the costs from the actual cooler on the SSD. So if you don't get the cooler, you can get a better drive. And of course, I will have additional options in the description area. So if you want to get a different PC part for a different price point or for more performance, I'll have some additional options down there for upgrades and things I would recommend doing if I was to change something different with this build. For our motherboard, we got the B550 Aros Elite AX V2 motherboard. Now, I definitely feel like I butchered that, and if you guys do think I did say that wrong, let me know in the comments down below. Feel free to roast me. But this motherboard is cool because it has 2.5 gigabit LAN on board, also 3 16 PCIe slots. Some of them are like PCIe with 2x16, which is still good for what we want to do for our capture card situation. And then we also have 2 NVMe slots on it. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. This comes with a motherboard, and it's actually not a terrible price, because I don't like spending more than $150 on the motherboard. I can like understand if you're trying to go for super high-end boards, you should probably go for something around like 3 to 250 with like a 10 gigabit LAN on board, but 2.5 is perfect for this build. So yeah, it also has Wi-Fi too, so we don't have to worry about buying like a Wi-Fi adapter or anything like that. Now for the GPU, we got ourselves the RX 6600 actual graphics card from AMD. This is my first time ever building a PC with an AMD CPU and AMD GPU, which I'm pretty excited about. I don't know if this has the resizable bar feature. It might, I had to double check, but I probably won't enable it for time being, just kind of like show a real world experience if we're just like build it, start using it, how it actually look performance wise. But this GPU will be great for actual CPU. Now for our power supply, we got the EVGA 750 watt power supply. I think this is like gold rating or something like that. Give me a second here. This is one thing I just had on hand in inventory because I upgraded my brother's PC recently, and I had this power supply that worked perfectly fine. There was no issues with it. I did test it before saying we're going to use this in this video, but I will have a Thermaltake 700 watt power supply that I've used in multiple PC build videos that's white rated, but works extremely good. I just use this one since I had this one on hand. I'm just trying to get rid of stuff in the studio. Now for the PC case, we are going to be using the Monotech XR. Now I'm not going to be able to show this on camera because it's going to take the whole screen, but that PC case is so nice. Now here's the full price of our build. Now let's get into the build process. So the first thing we're gonna do is install our CPU. Now the big thing to keep in mind, we want to make sure this gold triangle of the actual CPU lines with the black triangle on the actual socket. This will be kind of difficult to see just because the lighting in here is kind of like good, but you can see the black triangles right there. And of course, not in any other corner. So what we're gonna do is lift it up over a little bar here, pull it on the side. Then we want to match that gold triangle with the black triangle in the actual socket and just let it slip on in. With that, our CPU is good. And now we can just push the lever on down. And with that, our CPU is installed. Next thing we want to do is install our M.2. Now, of course, we got a Gen 4 slot right here. So we're gonna just open this by taking our little screwdriver, start unscrewing it like so. We're gonna do lefty the tighten it, and then righty the retighten it. So we're just gonna pull this up like so, pull it to the side, and not lose that M.2 screw. That's actually right here. You make sure not to lose this. Set that somewhere where you know it's not gonna get lost. So what we're gonna do is take our M.2, take the small tooth and the big tooth and line them up with the actual socket. So you can see right here, we got our M.2 socket with the small tooth there, the big tooth on the opposite side. And we wanna put this in at a right angle. But first, we wanna actually take out the additional M.2 screw that's actually with this. Of course, we do not wanna lose this, so we're gonna set this to the side somewhere. Now what we're gonna do is take our M.2, line it up from right angle, make sure it fits, and then you should be able to just slip it on in. The next thing we want to do is put one finger on the M.2, another one on the actual spot, and then we can just carefully drop in our screw like so. Now what we're going to do, actually I have the wrong screw, just realized I grabbed the black screw, not the silver screw. Let's grab that M.2 screw we just took out, place it back on there, place one finger in place, then we want to smooth screwdriver, and then righty-tighty the tighten in place. That our M.2 is good to go. Now keep in mind, this thing will have a actual plastic on it. You want to make sure to take this off so that way if your NVMe drive gets hot, it doesn't melt onto this, melts on that, which would be a problem. So you want to take this off first, is actually line it back on up. So we should be able to take this slip here where you can see, we want to take this crevice, slip it on in like so. Then it should just line on up with the slot. Take that black M.2 screw, and we want to carefully place it back on there, of course, without dropping it. One finger on it again, and then we want to get a small screwdriver and righty-tighty it. That our NVMe drives installed. Now another thing is this actual motherboard does come with some plastic on it. Now there isn't nothing here. There's only some on the actual I/O plate, and now it does have pre-installed I/O shield, so you will not need to actually like install it to your PC, which is nice. I love it when they have this. So what we're gonna do here is take off this plastic peel around the whole plate, so it doesn't actually like get hot, melt onto it, which would be problematic. The next thing we're gonna do is install our RAM. Now we want to install it in the 2 and 4 slots. So here we go, 1, 2, and here's the 4 slot, and we open on both sides. Now we want to line up our tooth with our actual RAM with the actual socket in itself. So you can see like there's a tooth there. You want to make sure to line it on up like so, because if you don't line it on up, it's going to cause problems. You're going to break something. And keep important that sometimes with memory, depending on where the logo is, it can point towards different directions. Now with DDR4 for Vengeance, it actually points towards the CPU. Now this is not something I recommend. This is something I just kind of learned while doing the process. And with DDR5, logo points the opposite direction. So we can just make sure our tooth lines on up, and then place it on in there like so. Push down on one side and push down for the other side. Our 2 slots installed, same thing. With that, our 32 gigabytes of DDR4 is installed. So the next thing we're gonna do is install our cooler. Now, the process for setting this up is actually really easy, and I want to show you guys how to do this. Now, keep in mind, it doesn't come with pre-applied thermal paste. There will be a plastic bag with thermal paste and 2 screws you will need, because you only need like 5 things for this. So here are like little screws that come with it and stuff. And then on top of that, 2 of the brackets. So what we want to do, we want to take our 2 brackets like so, we want to have them inverted, and we want to make sure to have our things go on the bottom side here, pull it up like so, and it should just line on up. Once it's lining up, we want to take one of the 2 screws that came with it and place it on top like so. Take a Phillips screwdriver with one hand and hold it in the other, and carefully screw this on. And we're just going to do this for the right side, and then we're going to do the exact same thing for the left side. We're going to do the same thing now. Grab another bracket, make sure it's pointed outward, place it under, grab your screw, carefully line it on up, drop your screw in there like so. Then of course hold it with one hand, screwdriver in the other, and you want to tighten this with righty-tighty, of course. So that is good to go for our cooler. We're going to take off the 4 bracket screws here and the actual bracket itself for the AMD socket because we only need to use the back plate from. So we're gonna take this bracket on off here, and we can just set this to a side somewhere. Don't lose it, of course. With that though, we want to take the other bracket, just set it to the side, and don't lose that stuff because you might want to use it later on for some other upgrades. And all we really need now is the back plate area. We're gonna leave this on, of course, our motherboard box because it's just easy to install everything on there. But before we actually install our cooler, because we will be lining these two screws up with the actual back plate screws so it's perfectly parallel, we want to make sure to install our thermal paste because it doesn't come with it pre-applied. We gotta apply some ourselves. So we're gonna take a little bit of this, line it on up with the board, and just put a grain of rice on it. With that, a little grain of rice is all good to go. We can take our cooler now, line it on up with the back plate, the screws. And once you have it parallel, it will just fall into place. You can just hold it like from the top. And we're gonna turn it to the right a little bit on each side. So we're not gonna do it all with the pressure on one side. We're gonna do it evenly, like Superman style, all the way across, so that way we can evenly tighten the pressure on the actual back plate to the cooler. Once it's tightened on 4 sides, you're good to go. So all 4 sides are nicely tight in there, so the cooler is not going anywhere. So the next thing we want to do is install our case fan. Now, of course, we want to make sure the logo is pointing towards outwards because it's going to be exhaust, so we want it to blow through. So there will be some bracket things that come with it, so you can install like more than just one fan. For time being, we only need like 2 of these things. They're kind of like hard to see on camera because that's how skinny they are. And what we need to do is we want to take our actual cable, run it through the actual cooler, just a little bit like that. And then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna just place this in like so. We're gonna take our things, we're gonna clip this, and how we wanna clip it is there's gonna be holes here, hole there, and we wanna put these like so in the holes. That way it bites. You can just push it into. And then you wanna do the exact same on the other side. We wanna take the other clip, make sure to line up the hooks with the actual holes. We wanna push it on in, one on one side, one on the opposite side. Then I would recommend just like putting this cable under the little bracket thing, so that way you can like kind of run the cable in there. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna re-clip it back down so it's not gonna go in place. And then what we're gonna do is take our cooler fan, line it on up. And you can see there's some clips here on the side. But you can see on the side here, the clip is actually lining up the cooler. So you want to have the cooler bite with the clip. So the clip is we're gonna pull this on over. It's gonna lock into place like so. So you can see like it bite it in there, which is awesome. Do the same thing on the opposite side. Now we can take the cable that we somewhat routed through the actual bite area, and we want to take this fan header, loading it up with the CPU fan pins. So you can see on the top here, if we zoom on in, you can see the CPU fan is right there. So we're gonna take the top one and line it on up, place this like so, and push this on down with the 4-pin. Now that I've got everything installed on the motherboard, the next thing we want to do is install this inside of our PC case. The next up, we got the case. Now, keep in mind, originally I was going for a black case, but for some reason I got the box that said black on it, and I got a white one, so that's lovely. But what we want to do to actually install our actual, motherboard is take off the back plate here by pulling this slip on the top. It should just clip on out. Perfect. We can just take this peel course. They have a weird peel on the side here that goes all the way around. Set that to the side. Same thing for the front. We're gonna pull it from the top here. We can set this down. I think I like this PC, even though it's gonna have like a black inside with a white case. It's still gonna look good at the end of the day. Just, I wish I had like another black case. Unfortunately, I can't really exchange it right now because it's been a minute. So yeah, not the worst in the world though. I also do want to open up the back side here. There's 2 slips on the nubs. We want to take these 2 slips, untighten them. We're gonna set this panel to the side too. So luckily, we only need to plug in like 2 cables here from the back for actual like fan RGB and also for our fan power, because you can see it's all daisy chained already on the top here, which is nice. I don't have to mess with anything else. I could always just rerun the cable for the system fan, the CPU fan somewhere else, so that way I can just like run everything to the top here. Now I will need to uninstall this case fan right here, just that way I can just install it without having issues. Let me put this light to a little bit to the side right there. You can see it now. We're gonna take this and uninstall this system fan. The case fan. My brain's kind of tweaking right now, to be honest with you guys. Well, that could have been way worse. So what we're gonna do is take our motherboard, line it up with the bracket, and just place this on in here. I'm just saying though, man, if this was an all black build, this thing would look so clean. So we want to make sure to line up this IO shield with it. And then you can see the actual bracket for the screw holes are lined up with the actual spots, which is fantastic. I will say though, it's super unfortunate that I just don't have a black case. Somebody's gonna see this when I start listing it and be like, man, that's a really nice motherboard and everything's black and black, but why the hell is it white? Okay, we'll just joke with them saying a yin yang theme build, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, man, I just like, bruh. So we're gonna take these screws that came with the actual case, and then we wanna put them in the spots for the actual holds for the case. I forgot, there's a correct term for that and I forgot what it's called. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna place one on the top here, line it up, screw it on down, get another screw. I'm gonna put on the opposite side here in the corner, line it up, tighten on down. Of course, my camera autofocus is acting weird right now. Same thing, another one on the bottom right corner, and we'll do on the top right next to the CPU pin. Then one more in between the case and actually the IO. We're gonna tighten this on down. That, our screws are good to go. I'm gonna do one more in the center, and that way we have 6 screws holding it in place so it's grounded and all chilling. Now what I will do is rerun that CPU pin that we just plugged into the CPU fan. We're gonna move this around actually, because originally I was thinking, oh, we could place this in this and look good, right? And be a clean run. However, with this case, since we have so little slack with the actual headers over here, we're gonna plug this fan one for the system fans actually on the top here. That our fans for the system are good. And then we got this ARGB header. We have, of course, our ARGB here. Perfect. We're just line this on up. That, our system fans for RGB and power are good to go. I'm going to rerun the CPU fan, because every single time I do a PC build, the CPU fan should feel like it should always go on top, but it never looks good. So I have to always run it like somewhere else. And we're going to probably place this cable instead of right there. We're going to probably do it right here to where this other system fans are at, because there's a system fan header right on this side. Can't remember who wants to focus that is. You can see right here, system fan. So we're gonna plug it in there instead. You know what I can do? I can do it like this. I don't know why I was even trying to do the opposite originally. I should have just done it like this originally. I should have ran it from the back side, not the top side. The top side would have been a little bit more cleaner, but doesn't matter, man. Just doesn't matter. We're gonna run this like this to here, and then we're gonna push this on down. Now what we'll do is take our case fan and rerun this back. The only thing is we will need to unplug it first. Oh my god, they have it so it's under the motherboard. Okay, so that's good. That took a minute, but I had to reinstall the fan or uninstall the motherboard just to install the back fan properly, which is just annoying when that happens. Just make sure before you install the motherboard to make sure the unplug the back fan and make sure it all comes out first. That way you can reinstall later, because it's gonna make it way easier for the long run. So what we're gonna do is take the power for our system fan for the back one, replug that back on in. Then we're gonna take the ARGB cable, plug that back into the actual controller, push that on in, which is awesome. So it's all JC chained again. Now we got the cables for the IO because all of it's on the front. Next thing we're gonna do is install the cables for our motherboard. Now that we re-daisy chained everything, luckily we have this new Action 4 GoPro I got, which will be easy to show you guys on how to route cables into the grommets and all that jazz, because I wanted to use my old GoPro, but it didn't work properly because it had problems. So the first cable we're going to plug into our motherboard is going to be our Type-C cable for the front IO. What we're going to do is we're going to run this Type-C cable into one of the bottom ports of our actual motherboard. So you can see here's a grommet here. There's a grommet on the opposite side. So we're going to take this, run this through here for you guys, so we can plug that on into the front. And the next cable we're going to route is our HDMI audio cable. And what we're going to do is go back under here, and what we want to do is run to the bottom right grommet. Of course, this one's like the one that has the HD audio, so we're gonna run this in here. Now this cable isn't labeled for this case, which is weird. Now for our front panel header, which contains like our power switch, a reset LED, and all that jazz, we're gonna run this under the bottom one here on the bottom left grommet. So we're gonna do that again, run it where the Type-C cable went originally. The next thing we have is our USB 3 cable. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna run this again, but this time we're gonna do it on the right side one where we did the HDMI audio. So I'm gonna route this on in here. And with that, we have all the cables routed the way we want it, which is awesome. So now what we can do is go back to the front side of the case, and you're gonna have to let me know how the GoPro thing was. I think it turned out pretty good, but I'll look in post and be like, oh my god, that actually worked really well, or really mid. The front side here, we have all the cables that we routed. Of course, trying not to drop the PC. We're gonna start plugging things on in. Now, I will get to the power supply in just a bit here. I'm gonna do that as a separate bit. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start installing our cables. Now we're gonna start with our front panel cable. Now this case is interesting because for this motherboard, it actually has it so everything for your front panels on the left side here. So we just take these pins, match them on up, and push it on down. So now next thing we're gonna do, Type-C cable. We're gonna plug this on in the Type-C port, which you can see it's right there. We're gonna plug this on in like so, line it up, push it on in. With that, they're good. And now what we can do is just feed back the rest of the slack we don't need. Next up, we got our USB 3. So we're gonna take our USB 3, make sure we have the slip thing here pointing to the top. And we take this, and we want to line it up like so, and push that down. And we push out all the rest of the slack we don't need somewhere. So it's good. And now for the final thing is the HD audio cable. We'll make sure the pins line it up with the HD audio port. Get rid of the extra slack by pushing it in. I'm gonna line this on up, and with that, I just push this on down. All of our USB support for the motherboard for the case is all good to go. So now we just need to do the power supply. Now for our power supply, we want to make sure have our fan pointed down to the bottom of the case so it can breathe. So we want to make sure to place this on in here like so. And with that, we're good to go. So there are gonna be some screws that come with the power supply. If my camera wants to focus, I'm gonna take these screws and just place them onto the back. 4 of these, and place one here, place one there, and place a few others in the spots with those divots. That our power supply is installed, now we get to run the final few cables. So we only need a few things like the 24 pin. So we're gonna take this 24 pin for our motherboard, and we're gonna run this through the top grommet, then the PCIe cable. Since we know we're only using 8 pin for a GPU, we will only use one of these. And what we're gonna do is gonna run it through the bottom grommet right here like we did for our front panel. And the other thing we'll need is our CPU power. So of course we only need 8 pin for this. We're gonna take these two, run it through the top right one here. So what we're gonna do is take our 24 pin for our motherboard. We're gonna make sure this clip here is pointing towards the back. And of course my autofocus is being weird, and we're gonna line this on up. And with that, we're going to push this on down. With that, our 24 pin is all good to go for our motherboard. Of course, can like push more of the slack back into the grommet so we don't have as much hanging out. Now, we'll install our GPU in just a second here because we want to run the extra slack, but I want to focus on the top one here for the CPU power. This one's always a pain. So on the top left here, you can actually see, and my camera autofocus, this works. You can see there's a 8 pin right there. We want to take this, make sure this clip is pointing towards the top of the case and place it on in here. So I don't know how much of this I'll be able to actually show you guys because how tight this is. Next thing we need to do is install our GPU, which is the last step we need to do before we can test boot to see if this actually works. So we're gonna tighten this. We're just gonna pull this on up like so. After we untighten it, of course. Actually, I forgot, it doesn't go up, it just pops out. I completely forgot about that. And then we want to take a few of these actual brackets on. I'm gonna make sure which ones they are. I'm pretty sure it's the 2 and 3 slot. So I'm gonna just take off these with our screwdriver, of course. Now we get to install our GPU, the RX 6600, which is awesome. This PC build looks so good. It's gonna look even better when I finish up the routing, but it's unfortunate we just don't have a pure black case. At the end of the day, it's a pure performance build, but it could be much more of a complete black aesthetic. And now what we're gonna do is take the screws that we uninstall and reinstall these back on in. Now what we do is plug in our 8 pin for our PCIe to our GPU to power it. That, our PC's all good to go. Next question is, will she actually boot? So of course, she's on the back here, I'm pretty sure. And all we have to do is click the power button in the front. Okay, it wasn't on the back. Okay, I was about to say, I thought we messed up and blew up something because it was like, I just saw a weird spark and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Did we actually mess something up? The question is now, will we actually get post? Okay, so it actually booted. I was thinking for a second there might be a problem. Okay, we're good, cool. We'll do the Windows install next and we can go from there. Okay, so I successfully installed Windows 11. Now, before we actually officially use this PC, I do want to enable XMP. So all I'm gonna do is literally click on the power icon, go to reset again. Then what I'm gonna do is mash the delete key on my keyboard, so that way we can go into the BIOS. And this is actually my first time messing with this kind of BIOS, so I'm gonna be curious to see how the layout is, because I know for this motherboard has a different one compared to the normal one. Even though it's a gigabyte board, it's not the normal gigabyte BIOS. So this will be interesting to see what this is. All right, we're in the BIOS now, and luckily this mode just pops up right in the rip, and I see the XMP right here. Now I can't set the frequency, or I can enable XMP. We'll see if XMP just works. If it works, that means the XMP on the board is stable. If it doesn't work, then I will have to manually set the RAM to 36 megahertz. So we'll just enable that. Then we'll just do exit and save, yes, and we'll see if it boots up properly. So the PC has boot up with no issue. It didn't go into black screen or anything like that. So that's nice to see. I was concerned that maybe there might be a problem because this motherboard doesn't have any indicator lights. So if there is any issue with it, it would be like very obvious. Also, the 2.5 gigabit Ethernet on board works perfectly fine. Did a speed test. It's fantastic, which is amazing. Downloaded games so quick. Like I already downloaded 4 games that are over 100 gigs already for testing, which is fantastic. I plan to do more game testing when we do start listing this PC. So if you guys want to see any games tested, let me know in the comments down below, because we'll be doing another video testing this more when we do the selling video, because this video is gonna be more like build. Do get some game testing, but not a whole lot of it, because this video has already gone on very long enough. But we'll go to performance under 13 megahertz. You can see it's only 2,133, so that isn't the 36. Okay, let me try manually setting the RAM to see if that does it. All right, so it says the memory frequency here is just that. Does my XMP isn't disabled even though I just enabled it for 32? Let's go to advanced mode real quick. Okay. In the advanced mode, we should go to Twinker settings. Yeah, here CPU extreme memory profile is disabled. Is it this one that misses? Okay, this one's FCLK. Weird. Okay, so it's not like the memory frequency multiplier, just this, which is interesting. So we'll try manually setting the memory instead and just saying this does it. If this doesn't do it, then I assume we have an unstable BIOS, or I might have to update the BIOS. I just assume it's just a bug. So we'll see what happens when I enable this. Performance, memory. It is still saying it only did 2133. So XMP is finally enabled. I was able to enable it, but it was kind of weird because originally we tried to enable it in the easy mode and we just did enable XMP there and that didn't work. Then we tried going to advanced mode, setting the memory to 36, which that didn't work. But when I did it again and I went in there and did went in the advanced mode, instead of like setting the memory, I enabled XMP in advanced mode. It worked. I'm not entirely sure how that makes any sense, because it should be the same process either way, even in the easy mode. But hey, it works now. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe it takes 2 times. I don't know. So let's get into game testing. So the PC turned out really good for $600. I will say it's not the coolest looking PC of all time. I wish I got a black case, because honestly, it would have gone perfectly with the motherboard and the cooler and stuff like that. And then we have that purple look to it. Like the purple look looks right now really good with the white case, and the black interior is still all right. But I just feel like it could have gone better. We had the full aesthetics. Either it was a full white build or full black build, but I'm not happy with results either way. I will say this though, gaming performance from this was an absolute beast. It was easily hitting over 100 FPS on most games we play, and the finals felt so smooth. It felt so good. I also did a test afterwards to try streaming and gaming off of it, which worked perfectly well, which is fantastic. So you can game on it, medium to low settings, and on top of that too, depending on the game, you might do high, like if you do more 2D games, like Terraria, Minecraft, those kind of stuff are not really too hard to run. As long as you don't crank up your render settings to Minecraft to absolute max, you can stream those games and absolutely just have a blast with it with a good quality stream. I also did throw in a capture card in there to kind of just make sure that the 4K Mark II actually works in there, so you can install like multiple of them if you really want to. So that's nice to see. Or you can use the other M.2 slot, not M.2, 16 by slot that actually saw not only just a 4K capture card for high-end recordings, but also a 10 gigabit capture card too. So you can slap in a lot of stuff you want to upgrade down the line. So that 2 gigabit onboard Ethernet is going to be fantastic. Then later on, if you want to grab like a 10 gig NIC, you can set that on up and just be even faster bandwidth speeds, as long as you have the switch that supports it and an internet speed that supports it. But yeah, I'm really happy with this result. What do you guys think about this PC build? Let me know in the comments down below. I will say one thing I did find out when I was actually double checking all the parts for the video for the part list. I figured out the P3 Gen 3 Crucial drive for 1 TB is the same price as the Gen 4 drive. So I'm gonna make sure to have the Gen 4 live drive link down below. I don't know how. I went to Micro Center, did not see that or something. Then again, I am partially legally blind, so there is something to be said about that. But I don't know, I just seem like an idiot for not noticing that, man. I can't believe I didn't even notice that. So you have $30 to throw in something else. Maybe you can grab yourself a Gen 5 drive. That'd be kind of ridiculous. I don't see the whole point of it, especially since the motherboard doesn't support it, but hey, maybe you save yourself some money either way. If you guys find this video interesting or even helpful, make sure to smash the like button, get subscribed to me some future tech content. I'm looking forward to later here because we are going to be upgrading my studio from 2.5 gigabit Ethernet to 10 gig. So I'm going to make a whole video on how to set that on up. And on top of that too, we got that AM5 build. So if you don't want to miss any videos, you know what to do. I'll see you for that one. TechGrant out.